Thank you kindly. So thank you everyone for joining today. We are going to be looking over a little bit of roommates. If you guys are still looking for that Q&A section in the app, it's along the bar. If you're using just a smaller window, there should be a little arrow tab that you can click and you'll see that little icon there. So just keep in mind it does exist. So one of the questions I often get is, what is roommate? And you may not hear about it all that often. We spend a lot of time talking about Logitech Spots and our Rally Bar family and the Meetup 2. And roommate seems to have kind of tucked itself away into the shadows. But when I talk about roommate, there's so much that I like to say. And the biggest thing that I like to talk about with roommate is the fact that it's a Collab OS appliance-based hardware. So this means that you can add roommate as a device in a meeting space or into a customized room that exists within Logitech Sync portal, and it can be managed and monitored directly from that platform. So it gives it a lot of flexibility from a management and a monitoring perspective. One of the things that it'll often do is act as a replacement for existing rooms where you might have things like maybe a Windows-based deployment and you're looking to maybe change things up a little bit more for an appliance-based deployment. So it powers those conference rooms to be able to basically make that transition or even deploy new rooms from a appliance-based deployment. So this could be things like Teams rooms on Android or Zoom room on Android, to name a few. Some other things you may not also know is that it does things like digital signage support. This might be through Zoom Room digital signage or through app space-based integration. It also gives you the ability to upscale an existing workplace, especially with hybrid workplace being more and more prevalent today, or even return to office full time. Being able to navigate a workspace through Logi View and an interactive map will make it so much easier to have a very cohesive and enjoyable experience when you're inside the office. Lastly, I would say an easy uplift for existing rooms where you might have support for third-party video and audio solutions. Sometimes maybe doing a full room replacement isn't possible, and Roommate is a way that enables you to be able to make more with less in terms of budget. One of the questions I get asked probably the most when it comes to Roommate is, does it support dual display? Well, if we're looking at the hardware here, you'll see that there's a few series of inputs that are available. On the far left, you'll see an HDMI ingest port. So this is great if you want to be able to share content within your meeting spaces, a connected laptop. Support for the dual displays through the HDMI outputs. When it comes to network connectivity, oftentimes we'll always recommend Ethernet is the best solution, but it does also support Wi-Fi connectivity. And then finally, 3 USB 3.0 ports that are made available so that you can connect your video, your audio sources, and your controller if you're looking at something with a USB-based connection. And that brings me to the last point of Roommate. Not only does it support things like our TAP Cat5e with a straight USB-based connection, but it also supports TAP IP, where you maybe need an extra USB port available for other peripheral-based devices. So let's talk a little bit about why you might want to use Roommate within an existing video collaboration space. So first and foremost, let's pretend that you're an IT administrator, or maybe you're someone that handles the technology and you work closely with the IT admin. You've been handed a task because of return to office and the requirements that you really need to start updating all of these rooms. That's great. Where do you start? Well, there are some challenges that do come into the 21st, 22nd century, everything that's happening today. What I hear most often is we might have budget constraints. Maybe you're running into issues where the existing solution is far too complicated. Maybe you have customized programmers that are doing a lot of things with the controller for the room, and you want to find a way of streamlining and standardizing on that particular need. Also, you want it to be easier to navigate, not only for your end users that are going to use that particular space, but maybe for your IT support staff. The easier it is to deploy and manage, the easier it is to support, the faster you can get things done. If you want to be able to manage those spaces even more easily from your IT staff, be it from maybe insights and analytics perspective, or be able to see if a room requires a firmware update or things like that, then this is where you're really going to start to see a lot of those benefits when you start implementing things like Roommate. And finally, you want an adaptive solution that's going to be able to flex and bend and kind of live through some of those changes. And that might be something like maybe you're a Teams shop today, but you know that within the next year, you might be transitioning over to something like Zoom. Rather than having to replace an existing room for Teams today and then have to do it again next year, you'll have the ability to transition things over. And finally, that's where we cut to what is available on the RoomMate from a deployment perspective. So RoomMates today supports Microsoft Teams rooms on Android, Zoom Room on Android, and even Tencent meeting rooms. Now, Reed, I'm gonna ping you on this for a second. I've seen a pretty much a 50-50 split in the last probably year or so about people that are claiming they want Teams rooms on Windows versus Android, and same thing for Zoom. But we are seeing a little bit more, at least from my perspective, of that transition happening more to sort of the appliance side. Are you seeing anything different?
No, I would agree. We're seeing a move to the use of appliances, and I think there's a couple of things. I think probably the most prominent thing is ease of deployment, and then also ease of management. So things like, if you're using Sync today to manage a lot of your other devices, whether that's a Rally Bar, Board 65, things like that, this can bring your other rooms that maybe have more bespoke setups, like we talked about earlier, with those different connections to be able to connect different devices to it. It brings all of that into sync. And so now you have one portal to manage all of your CollabOS devices, and it kind of just simplifies that experience. But I would echo what you said and see we do see a lot of adoption with kind of the Android side of that.
Mhm. Now, another question I do get, and I'll just kind of address the elephant in the room as it stands, is we do have on occasion some clients that are requesting, are we going to see Google Meet on Android available on RoomMate? And as it stands as of today, right now, we're not likely to see Google Meet on Android in the near future with RoomMate. Those that are interested in looking at Google Meet on Android, I will always highly recommend looking at things like our Rally Bar family, which can do the appliance mode for Google Meet on Android, or even looking at a CTL Chrome box to be able to do your Chrome OS based deployment for Google Meet. Now, if Google Meet is something of interest to you and you are curious about RoomMate, you know, talk to your reps, talk to your available SE, and we'll see what we can kind of discuss and look at your sort of existing option. But we just want to be transparent about what's available today as it stands with RoomMate. So that last question from a VC space is really, why would you consider utilizing a RoomMate? There's lots of options that are available out there. Well, if you're transitioning, you're moving slowly away from a Windows-based deployment and moving over to an appliance-based or an Android-based deployment, like Teams rooms on Android or Zoom rooms on Android, this is a really easy way of doing that. You're kind of effectively replacing a Windows-based system with the RoomMate here, but you don't have to rip and replace anything else that comes out of that. Another thing that's really good is for existing systems, right, where you may have more constrained budgets. If you've been handed down a task of saying, I want to upgrade 20 rooms, but I only have the budget to do 6, then simply replacing a RoomMate instead of an entire room replacement with existing third-party video and audio that works with RoomMate, it'll be much easier to be able to deploy all rooms, making that transition from Windows to appliance, while still leveraging some extra budget. So if you want to have spares in the background or maybe update a couple of video and audio sources in different rooms, you'll be able to do that. And lastly, being able to future-proof for those transitions, such as if you're going from Zoom to Teams or Teams to Zoom, or maybe from Tencent meeting rooms over to one of the other platforms, you'll have the ability and the peace of mind to be able to say that over the next 3 years, I don't have to worry about replacing this system, and I can just make minor tweaks and adjustments based on the needs. So digital signage. RoomMate, as of today, is pretty capable of doing things like Zoom and AppSpace digital signage deployments. Now, think of yourself as a little bit of a marketing manager or a marketing executive that might need to start displaying some more branding across the organization, or maybe some up and coming events and some details, maybe for things like Logi Work as an example. What is an easy uplift if you already have Logitech based equipment? Maybe for all you know, you already have RoomMate that's deployed in a number of different rooms, or maybe even just a handful of rooms. But your IT team in the background tells you that they have 7 or 8 roommates that are currently collecting dust on a shelf because they're just on-site spares, but the other units are working very perfectly. Well, this gives you the opportunity to take those roommates, place them in key elements, like maybe in a lobby or a welcoming area, and being able to add that digital signage in either through Zoom Room digital signage or even through AppSpace digital signage. So having the ability to integrate some of those digital signage options will give you a little bit more flexibility and visibility from a marketing perspective. Now, the other key thing I have to add here is that while we offer integration with AppSpace is digital signage, it is not free for us. So there is an extra license cost that does come from the AppSpace side. So we just want to make sure that all of that is in your wheelhouse of awareness and knowledge there. Reed, did you have anything to add on that, or am I still doing okay? Am I a little plumb?
No, no, I think it's. I think you're spot on. I will say, I'm always impressed by even just like how powerful of a digital signage player it can be. Funny enough, I know it's like blurred out, but I even have it playing this like looping video in the background, and like there's a lot of cool installations we see with digital signage on RoomMate, and it is a very capable device to kind of house all your digital signage needs.
Yeah. So why would you maybe want to consider an existing roommate or maybe a deployed space for digital signage purposes? Well, Zoom digital signage is a really easy uplift, right? If you're an existing Zoom room, it's enabling the feature, maybe talking to your Zoom admin about what content you'd like to have up there and really deploying it out. And then if you're using app-based digital signage as it stands today with other custom-based deployments, then if you've got an existing roommate, that's a pretty easy transition over as well. It'll increase sort of awareness and visibility across your organization and just make it easier for especially remote employees that are coming into the office or guests that are coming into the office to really feel like they're more in the know about what's happening in their spaces. Now, probably my favorite thing about roommate today is really sort of the also I'll almost call it an untapped application, and that really comes down to Logi View. Now, Reed, I know this is definitely where you shine the most, and so I want to give you a chance to really kind of put it through its paces and kind of talk about what Logi View is.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I work here, obviously at Logitech, and part of my role is Logitech View on RoomMate. So I am always excited to share about what we have and kind of the offering. But to kind of frame or paint the picture as we start to look at this, we started to look at space management in general. And when you think about maybe going into the office, we've got a scenario here where it's like a return to office, and maybe this is not the normal, this is a new thing, or maybe you're even just a visitor in the office, or maybe your office has moved. There's all these kinds of scenarios where we essentially want to make the office as useful as possible, and as also as quickly as possible and as easy as possible, all the good buzzwords. And so what we wanted to enable was we wanted to enable the ability to essentially find things like a desk maybe that you're sitting at, find a conference room, find things like the restroom, find the people and places, things like that. And so there's a couple slides I'll go through, and I promise it's not death by slides. I will have an actual demo that we kind of take a look at these as well. But to start off, so this is what Logitech View looks like, and it works in unison with some other things, but we can essentially find people and places. And we can also actually book some of those places as well. So if you have like a calendar essentially connected to Logitech View, we can actually not only book them but show the status of your room. So think about walking into a space and saying, "Hey, maybe Matt and I are prepping for this presentation. We're like, hey, we need a space really quickly." Instead of running around the office to try to find one, we can find one on the map quickly, book it, and then just walk there and know that it'll be there for us.
Now
In
you talked about
addition, oh, sorry,
you
yeah,
did talk about sorry, you did talk about a
no, no.
map there. So I just wanted to just touch on that a little bit. So what would be needed in order to create sort of like a I guess in this case it would be a custom map for that particular office space?
Yeah, and this, I feel like every part of this is exciting, but this is also as much as you think maps might not be exciting, I think it is, because we offer a couple different ways to do this. So if you have a picture of a map today, fantastic, use it, upload it, that's fantastic. Go, you're off to the races. Literally upload it into your portal and you can kind of map it out. The other thing that you can also do is you can send us your map. And I will say people have literally sent in like napkin drawings of maps, and we will essentially create like we'll like beautify the map essentially. So we'll make it a vector file so it never gets blurry, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll give it back to you. And then you can upload that and then plot and distribute kind of all your rooms and things on that as well. So we try to make it as easy as possible. And also, if you just don't want to do it, you can give it to us and we'll just even make a map for you as well.
Cool. Now you talked about being able to reserve and like obviously this GIF, I don't I'm sorry, I'm gonna play that war game there.
Yeah.
Um when it comes to booking an available meeting room space, do they have to use Logi room booking or desk booking, or do we have other options available in order to be able to leverage Logi View?
Yeah, and it's a fantastic question because when we started to look at things like space management and specifically with Logitech View, even some other of our offerings as well, we wanted to make sure that we could be, kind of add value where we felt like we could. And so with Logitech View, you can be using Teams, you can be using Zoom, you can be using a custom provider. Like you can really kind of do it with anything. Essentially, there's a calendar connection that's required inside a sync, and I can show what that looks like later. But once you have that, then it's just a matter of mapping things, and it can essentially be perfectly in sync with any other provider. Obviously, assuming that those rooms are using the same calendar connection as well. So it's incredibly flexible to use with obviously our solutions, but any other solution or partner, we kind of can add value to those as well.
Nice.
Um,
So one of the
yeah,
newer features that I've seen, based on sort of our release notes here is kind of this searching function. Can you walk me through
yeah.
a little bit of this?
Yeah, this is one of my favorites. I always like to mention that it's a very fuzzy search because sometimes I genuinely don't know how to spell different things or different people's names. Like there's I don't know. It's always hard. You don't want to like have to ask sometimes or whatever. Or maybe you call it a bathroom, someone else calls it a restroom, someone calls it a toilet, coffee machine, whatever. There's all these different things. So this is a very, very fuzzy search. And to think of it as like your guide to the office. If you don't know where your room is, search it. We will find it. If you don't know where your coworker is, you can actually enable it to find coworkers. Obviously, there's controls to disable that too. And then you can search any point of interest. So if I want to find where the coffee machine is, where the kitchen is, I can just do a text search and then find any of those spaces.
Right. And I would imagine that would be particularly helpful if you were, let's say, flying to Cork, Ireland, visiting a Cork office you've never been to before.
Yeah, it is very useful for places you've never been. The other thing, I think it was, I can't remember when it was, but it's released, so that's the point, I guess. But is there? We have a new feature where you can actually search multiple floors or even multiple buildings. So let's say you have a campus that's got multiple 5 floors or something like that. When you do this search, we can actually search through all 5 floors, or if you have multiple buildings on your campus, it enables you to find not only stuff that's directly around you but stuff within maybe the vicinity as well. So it kind of brings that power of search and expands it to the rest of your office buildings there.
Very cool.
And this is
And
just
so,
a shout out. Yeah, go for it.
so I guess that basically sort of answers the question what was originally asked when it comes to sort of integration for your service provider for your scheduling panels.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll go through these quickly, but so we look at the kind of like the user interaction side, and our goal is again to make it easy, simple, and we really want to deliver value quickly. And I think that all of those same things are true on the admin side. We don't want to limit your ability to do things. We just want to make it easy and simple. So you can manage all your devices, you can manage all the settings, you can actually upload your maps, and a crucial piece is you can actually change how these are plotted, change the maps. You have full control. There's no requirement to like contact us and have us change your map. So as things change, you can instantly change those. And you can even do things like, hey, my map needs to be rotated this way, and customizing the way that it's displayed to make sure that it accurately matches what people are looking at when they view this device on a screen inside
Right.
the office. And then yeah, you can also add your custom logos. You don't have to have the Logitech logo. You can if you want.
Ooh,
But
although I do want to ask, is there a
yeah,
limitation to the type of files that you can use for things like logos?
there is a size limitation, and there's kind of like also like a size recommendation over like what files you can put in here. So there is like a file limit size, and then there's a size recommendation. But any PNG or JPEG essentially can be placed up in that corner.
Right on. Well,
Yeah,
that's good. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna actually, give you the opportunity to kind of take over here because I'd
yeah,
love for the audience to kind of get an idea of what Logi View and maybe what a little bit of that looks like within the sync portal.
yeah. So for those of you who haven't accessed Sync, I'm logged into Sync. I've clicked on a room inside a Sync. This room is the room with my roommate that is running Logitech View. So we took a lot of steps there, but essentially we're going to look at Logitech View on a roommate. So I'm going to click on the device and I'm going to use our remote UI access. So this is a feature that we have inside of Sync. I can actually remote into this device. As we talked about earlier, just is like ease of management, ease of use, those types of things. This is part of that where it makes it super easy to use. This can be used with other providers running on RoomMate as well. And what you're seeing here is a map of our SVC office. So this is actually a live map. You can see all of these conference rooms are color coded. So red is busy, yellow means it's going to be busy soon, green means it's available. And then as I start to click into some of these sections here, as I zoom in a little closer, we show a little bit more detail. So you can actually see that I've got all the desks showing up. I've got users here. And actually, I'm going to just go ahead real quick. I'm going to search for somebody I know. See if he's in the office today. It looks like he's not at his desk. That's too bad. But I can actually find like individual users, and again, outside of this the session here, but you can also see if someone's using Logitech Flex, you can even see if someone's at the desk. But let's say I'm here in the office. I want to book a desk. I want to book Mono Lake here. I can book it pretty quickly and easily. I can book it for 15 minutes. Let's say I can also see that there's no other meetings coming up. Whereas if I click on other conference rooms, I can kind of see the agenda, and you can again control what that looks like, all that kind of stuff. But now I've booked a conference room, I can literally just walk over there and start using it and easily find what I need.
Nice. Now, one of the comments I just want to make really quickly as we're kind of going through this interactive map with Logi View here is if you want to be able to leverage Logi View and the custom mapping and the being able to, book directly from that touchscreen, it is important that you guys have Logitech Essentials at the very least in order to be able to leverage room booking, desk booking, custom maps. And it will also give you additional feature access such as remote UI, which is what Reed's doing here today in this presentation. So if you want to learn more about Logitech Essentials, please check out our services page. Maybe someone from our SE team can drop a link for the services link within the chats here down below. But otherwise, we're happy to kind of speak to that a little bit more later on.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so maybe if you could kind of show me a little bit of like what maps or like where you would go to access map or maybe integrated calendars if you're not doing things like Logi room booking or desk booking. Where would I find that?
Yeah. So inside of Sync, so if I go back out of my rooms here, and the view I get when I first log into my Sync account, under this system option here in the bottom left corner, I can select this, and there's a tab top middle left-ish called Maps. And so here's where I can actually manage all the maps for all my different locations. I can quickly add a map, and you can see I can just simply upload a JPEG, or I can actually request a map from Logitech to create that. And then if I've uploaded a map, this is where I can actually customize. So I can plot different rooms. I can put where my view devices are on the map. I can plot points of interest, different things like that. And again, all of this is, I can even custom, the shape of rooms can be customized, things like that. All of this is incredibly fast and easy. We do a lot of changes in the office, and it's easy for us to just simply, this room is now moved here. This room name is different. We don't have to contact anyone, or even our facilities team can just log in and change things quickly and easily. So we've tried to intentionally make the map section of this very easy and also kind of all encompassing, so that not only is Sync the place you go to manage your devices, manage the service provider, but you can also manage the maps essentially in that single place. And then, like we said, you can use this service and others on RoomMate. If you're using Logitech View, you can also use that service with other providers as well.
And we talked about being able to book meeting rooms from Logi View. Is there an opportunity or a way of being able to book desks directly? So maybe you're like a guest, and you're not necessarily part of an internal network or an internal sort of tenant of sorts. You want to be able to just grab a book that a desk is available. Is that something that we can do from Logi View, or is it something that we're considering doing if it's not available?
Yeah, so the short answer is we don't have it today. The longer answer is it is something we are looking at. So with desks, you can book for guests using our sync portal. So like an admin can book ahead of time for someone. And what we're looking at is on our Logitech View, we're looking at exposing things like QR codes where someone could scan with their mobile device and we'll be able to book a space. So we will have some further integration that will be coming soon for Logitech View and the desk booking side as well.
Okay. Well, I sincerely do appreciate you taking the time to just kind of walk us through a little bit of Logi View and what that looks like in terms of on the map on an interactive display. And that's the other key the element here. Um, it can go to a regular display, but it's really been designed for more interactive displays where you can actually, do searches and book rooms and that kind of thing. So just for awareness while we're out there. So maybe just to kind of roll things back a little bit here. Um, RoomMate is really sort of designed to be an adaptive and sort of Swiss Army flexible solution that you can really utilize. So it can be used in an application space for video collaboration, right? So it allows you to be able to use things like Teams rooms on Android, Zoom room on Android, and Tencent meeting rooms. If you're maybe more budget constrained, but you have available video and audio sources that are compatible or that are certified, you can retrofit existing rooms to keep that cost down to be able to stretch that budget a little bit further. With things like Logi View, being able to do wayfinding is very beneficial. I can't tell you how amazing it was when I went to the New York office last year, being able to basically add maps for those easy navigations and then find a meeting room whenever you need it, which is nice. From the IT perspective sides, being able to manage these devices or firmware updates, put all of your Logitech based video collaboration devices within one convenient portal. And then last but not least, while we didn't really showcase it today, having the ability to get insights and analytics for these rooms to see, how often they're being leveraged, how long those meetings might be going on for, and depending on the video and audio equipment that you have connected, you know, is it working correctly, and what's your sort of occupancy numbers and other sort of real-time data that you can gather. So I wanted to take a little bit of time to kind of focus on some of those questions. I know that our SE team has been doing an excellent job at sort of answering some of those comments and questions within the chat. But I want to throw that back to Robert or Kristen if we have anything outstanding as it stands.
Sure. Yeah, there's a few questions that have rolled in, and some of them, Matt, you might be able to answer, and then some, Reed, you might be able to answer. And real quickly, just a quick correction. And we accidentally put in the deck that the USB ports are 3.0. They're actually 2.0 USB ports on the RoomMate.
My fault.
And we'll go back and correct that in the materials before we send them out to you guys. It happens. It quite all right. But the one question that came in is the question that came in from Garrett was, RoomMate has been out for a while now, and this particular customer has around 30 of them deployed across their organization. They love them. They use them every day. And the question that they had was, will the ones that they bought over a year ago still be supported and upgraded with the new features for the foreseeable future of time? I'll go ahead and field that one. And the answer is yes. We are continuing to innovate and build out on RoomMate. And in fact, we've got a few feature requests that'll spin out of this meeting. And we can get those into queue and see if that's something that we're going to be able to do. But when we first came out with RoomMate, it was really a designed to be a simple kind of headless, cameraless type system that you would take and deploy inside of an office to give you that Android video collaboration experience. We've done pretty good there, but we continue to evolve it. And as you can see through the explanations that Reed and Matt have given today, is we've grown the platform. It's now more than just a video collaboration device. You can use it for Logi View, booking and wayfinding. And so we are going to continue to innovate and build there. And I hope that answered your question. Another question that came in was let's see here. A lot of people asking about PTZ control related to RoomMate and third-party cameras. So, and Matt, this one's probably more for you, and I can help with this answer as well. But a lot of people are curious about, what our camera support is on RoomMate for third party. And what I'll say is, actually, I'll go ahead and answer this one. The RoomMate today, we don't actually block any third party camera from being used with our RoomMate device. But we also don't fully test every third party camera that's out there. Our focus has been with RoomMate to make sure that we can nail down a consistent and very good experience with our Rally camera and also our original Meetup device, where you should have those camera controls and capabilities. With third party cameras, we don't have UVC control over all those third-party cameras. You can plug them in, they're going to work. In a lot of cases where we do have customers doing that, they're using a remote control separate from the system to be able to control those cameras. But we don't block any cameras from being used. You just might run into trouble with PTZ controls. And if you do, then you're using the third-party remote control along with that.
Yeah.
What about a generic driver for PTZ? Because right now it might work. It doesn't work for any cameras other than those two cameras. No other cameras are supported for PTZ control, including anything from Logitech in the past 5 years. So when we're talking about Rally camera standalone and Meetup Gen 1, those are really, really old cameras that are not for modern spaces. Is there any interest in just supporting, even if you were to say that this is closed to the Logitech ecosystem, we're going to support PIDs and VIDs from Logitech peripherals? Because right now we can't even use Meetup 2 with the RoomMate. We would have to use a Meetup 1, and it's definitely showing its age.
Yep. Yeah, and excellent feedback. Not something I'm prepared to really provide an answer on here today, but we can certainly get this back to our product team and make sure that they're aware of the feedback coming from our customers and channel partners. Yeah. Thank you, Brian. All right. And then a question that came in, Matt, this one's for you, about HDMI ingest through tap in RoomMate. And the question is does that work today with RoomMate using tap as the ingest point?
It's a great question. As it stands today, only the HDMI ingest port on the back of RoomMate is used to be able to capture that content. Our product team does evaluate on and off, if it's possible, or if we can add that functionality in with the tap Cat 5e in the future. But as it stands for today, it is still just heavily reliant on that HDMI ingest port on the back of RoomMate.
Perfect. And let's see if we've got some digital signage and type questions here. Question coming in about digital signage, and the question is does it require only Zoom or the AppSpace app to be able to do digital signage? Reed, I think that probably is a good question for you or Matt, either one of you guys. Are there other platforms that can be used with digital signage specifically?
Yeah, it's a good question. Today, those digital signage, or I guess the function of digital signage is supported by the apps that we support on RoomMate. So it would be limited to the digital signage platforms we support. So like Zoom and AppSpace and things like that. Obviously within Zoom, we support all their digital signage offerings, things like that. But if it's not one of our supported vendors, then we would not have it on RoomMate yet.
Now, one of the things I'll maybe add to that, and a lot of people tend not to realize that it exists. So if you guys have ever been on the Sync portal, or if you guys have ever been on a product hub, we have a section on the left-hand side in the product hub called discussions. And within discussions, we have forums that you can kind of talk about features and existing functionalities, obviously with our hardware, but we also have a wish list. So this is a public-facing wish list that you can go ahead and make a request. So if there is a specific application or type of sort of desired functionality you would love to see out of one of our Logitech-based solutions like the RoomMate, it's a great place to publicly display, I would love to see this application or this functionality for digital signage with RoomMate. Give it some weight, how you would intend to utilize it, how often you would deploy it. Maybe if you've got several hundred rooms you want to do that, that's great. And then there's a public voting system as well. So if it's gaining a lot of traction, it'll obviously bump itself up towards the top of the list. And our product team does review this wish list and the discussion forums on a weekly basis, to get some ideas as to, where the interest really lies. So if there's something you want to see on RoomMate or one of our other solutions today, I urge you to go to our product hub, go to the discussion section, and even just look at our wishlist tab. That'll also help you kind of drive that conversation and get more, community and public feedback about our solutions and our offerings for today.
Perfect. And another MTR OA question that came in, and this particular person is interested about is RoomMate recommended for MTR OA when you need external audio with local amplification and handheld lavalier microphones, such as a Shure P300. And what are the components? Or should we go with MTR on Windows? And Matt, I'll tee that one up for you.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So RoomMate we do have a list of verified supported third-party audio that does work with RoomMate without issues. And this might be a DSP, and this might be Biamp, this might be Shure, this might be what it is. So I would urge you to just check out on our product hub the list of available third-party audio that is supported, because there are certainly some instances and some deployments where you might have a DSP that is connected to RoomMate, where someone might be using something like a catch box for more auditorium audience-based questions, or even a lavalier mic for someone in a larger space. So I would say, yes, it is possible, but we would need a little bit more details as to the specifics of your audio-based solutions and how that might drive your overall meeting room. I'll see if I can throw that verified third-party audio link within the chat.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, it's a pretty exhaustive list of different DSPs. With RoomMate, we run into, or a good application with RoomMate has been in some situations divisible spaces. The RoomMate by itself won't be able to do divisible spaces, but with a DSP integrated in with the RoomMate, you can usually pull that off. It just depends on the requirements of the space. And I certainly recommend, with more complex spaces, is get in touch with us. Let's talk through it. Work with your channel partners also to make sure that you're deploying a good, solid solution, and also that you're running off of our vetted hardware list of certified devices.
Can I offer a rule of thumb here, Robert?
Sure. Yeah, please do, Andrew.
So they've already said with RoomMate, you always stick to the RoomMate supported hardware list that they put up there. So please use that as your Bible. I'm sorry to use that term. Third-party cameras are not supported, even though they may work, and we have language on there that'll state that. So be very thoughtful about using third-party cameras. And lastly, whenever you're talking third-party DSP, remember this rule of thumb. You never mix Logitech audio and third-party audio. Yeah. It's always one or the other, but never both. So,
yeah, that's a good point, Andrew. Is the way I've described it is very similar. Is you have to pick where the audio burden is going to be. Do you want that to be on Logitech, like with a Rally system, for example, that's built to do the audio and the video all in-house? Or if you go third party, then you're taking that audio burden and you're moving it into a third party solution. So it's what we don't like to see is a mixture of Logitech audio and say a DSP audio. That's where you run into problems, get double cancellation, all kinds of issues that you could run into in that type of situation. So
for instance, you'd never have Logitech mics, third-party speakers, or third-party speakers and Logitech mics. It's either one or the other, never both.
Right. Yeah. And another customer asked a question about the Android stack on RoomMate. Matt, this is probably a good question for you. Reed, you might have some information on it. But the question is this a custom Android version? Or is this your regular Android that runs on a mobile device? And then they're also asking, how secure is it? And Matt, I could probably help with this one as well, but I'll go ahead and let you tee it up.
Yeah, sure. So it's the same Teams rooms on Android and Zoom Room on Android application that you would see across our video bars as well, so the Rally Bar family. And in terms of features and functionalities, there are certainly links that are available to look at feature parity across the different devices, whether you're looking at things like Teams versus Windows versus Android, and same thing for Zoom as well as what you would expect to see. So what you would see from a video collaboration application side is what you're going to find. So on those particular websites. And in a second, I will drop and throw those into the chat as well, just so everyone readily has them available.
Yep. And as far as the security goes, the Android operating system that we've built that we call Collab OS is extremely secure. And there's a lot of information that you can find more about the security of these devices on our product hub. And we can have somebody drop the link into the chat. It's a great place to go learn more about the security, how secure these devices are. It is not the same version of Android that's running on your Peloton or your mobile phone. This is a highly secured, highly customized version of Android that Logitech is able to build and maintain ourselves. So very important to understand. It's all that is, all Android is to us is a embedded software system that we utilize to secure our devices and also pull forward quickly the features and needs that our customers need. And then maybe time for one or two more questions. Let me just take a look and see. And then let's see. Customer asking about Streamline Kit. And for those of you that don't know, fairly recently we released a product called Streamline. And what it does is a way for you to plug in Rally cameras over a distance and utilize category cable. So I know in a lot of situations our customers have used Valens and things like that, which can be a little hard to get and also a little bit hard to buy at quantity. So if you need a lot of them. So we actually built a product to kind of take the place of those Valens, and it's called Logi Streamline Kit. And you can actually take that and adapt it to your existing Rally cameras. And instead of having to run a USB cable over a great distance, and using category cable is really nice. Today, right now we don't have the feature parity with RoomMate to use with the Streamline Kit. We've got we're working on that currently. Functionally the camera works through the Streamline Kit, but the buttons is one of the other features that Streamline Kit has, is that you can get these little buttons to set up programmed presets for where the camera needs to go. And that's the bit that we're still working on. And so stay tuned on that one. And then what else, guys? Like, I think that's probably going to hit most of the questions that we have in there. If we did not get to your question today, we'll capture it and we'll try and follow up. Or I would also encourage you to come back through our channel partners or through our account team and get into the weeds, because maybe it was a little too hard to answer here today in this call. But please do keep them coming in, and we'll make sure to capture all the feedback and get it into our product team as well after this call. Matt, Reed, what else are we not talking about? What else should we talk about before we get into upcoming events? Anything that we missed?
I think the only thing I would say is just to double down on what Matt said around the product hub and the wish list. That is something we look at, weekly and we try to respond to as well, and also give status updates on some of the things that actually get progress and start moving. So any and all feature requests are welcome, and it's definitely a helpful part for us to continue to build products that work as well as they can for you guys.
I love the wish list. It's a fantastic feature on the hub. And so if you've got ideas and you've got very specific application use cases and needs, put them in there, like and crawl through there, because it's likely that other customers and channel partners are running into the same thing, and it's a good place to upvote any other feature requests, but also put in your own custom versions of your feature requests. We love hearing the feedback, and like Reed said, we're in there not just weekly, on a daily basis, and they're kind of harvesting out really good ideas and seeing what we can do here in the future. So